Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Quinlan with Oxygen Beats, and it's good to see you again in this month's VIP kit. So, as an independent producer, if you offer any sort of mixing services, you're going to run into clients that are going to send you really crappy recordings. And there are also times where you might have a client that had a really awesome recording and awesome performance, but there's just like a couple spots where there are some issues that you need to fix. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to salvage those, fix those issues, so that they're acceptable to use inside the mix. The program that we're using for this is Isotope's RX4. RX4 is like the Photoshop of audio. You have a lot of power over isolating elements inside audio clips, and you can remove those. So it's really useful for audio restoration, and it's pretty standardized in a lot of studios. I'm running the advanced version, which goes for about $1,200, but you can pick up the standard version for like $300, $350, and it just has like 2 or 3 features missing. The advanced version, you get just 2 or 3 extra features, but for a lot more money. So if you're on budget, I suggest you just go ahead and grab the standard version if you don't have it already. I'm going to go ahead and play this audio clip right here. I warn you to turn your audio down or brace your ears because it's really loud. I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1.
What am I? Definitely not a human. At least that's what they'll say when the autopsy is done with. Now I'm hanging from the roof with an empty bottle of Jack and a loosey tie.
Okay, so there are a couple of major issues with this recording. The first one is that there is a lot of noise and hum. Now, there's a difference between noise and hum. Noise is randomness in the frequencies, and hum is the opposite. It is very tonal, very distinct frequencies. So we can see the noise here as these little fluffy parts, the little flakes. There's no real lines. It's all just fluff. And right here we have this straight line. That would be our hum. It's a little bit over the 15K. So we're going to bring up our Denoise module over here on the right. And we have a few different options, but I'm just going to stick with the spectral inside the manual mode. And what we're going to need to do is select a part of the audio where it's just the noise we want to remove. And then we are going to hit learn. So let's actually play this selected audio. And it's really important that you don't get anything in your selection that is not the noise. I think I could get a slightly better selection because it sounds like he was ruffling around. You can see right here and right here where it looks like he was probably moving around. And so that's not the noise we want to remove. So if I select this spot right here, it seems to isolate the noise perfectly. So I'm going to hit learn again, and it's going to be a little bit different. But we can see our noise profile here, and we can see this sharp peak right there, and that will be the hum. So it will reduce that. We have this artifact control. The more it's on musical noise, it will remove the noise completely throughout the whole audio clip. And the more it's on gating, it will remove the noise only when there is noise only. And if there is some vocals that come in, it won't. The noise will not be reduced at all. And we can select anywhere in between. The reason why we wouldn't have it all the way to musical noise a lot of times is because if we have it all the way to musical noise, sometimes you get a lot of artifacts. I usually set it somewhere towards the middle, a little bit more leaning towards musical noise. And for my quality, I usually set it to the best. I'm going to leave the threshold and reduction settings where they are, and I'm going to process this. Okay, so we can see it's looking better if we play that.
What am I? Definitely not a.
Okay, so I'm actually going to process this again, and we can see it's pretty much taken out all that noise. So now if we play it, this should be silent.
What am I? Definitely not a human.
Okay, so we still have a little bit of hum, so how we can deal with that is bring up our remove hum module over here. It's specifically designed for removing hum. And usually by default, this base frequency setting will be set to 50 or 60 hertz. And that's because in a lot of electrical loops, 50 or 60 hertz is common to have noise in those frequencies. But in this example, there's nothing, no hum at 50 or 60 hertz. And our only hum is really this line here above the 15K. So we're actually going to select this to free, and then we can adjust this manually to the frequency we need. If we just kind of hover around inside RX4, you can see in the bottom right corner of the window, it will tell us the points we're hovering over. It will give us the frequency and the decibels and the time it's at. So we can just kind of hover over this line right here, and it looks like it is at 15,767 hertz. So we're going to enter that in, 15,767. All right, so we can see that the hum we're going to be removing right there. There's only one vertical line, so there's no harmonics above it. So we can actually just set this to 1, and we can go ahead and hit process. And you can see it has reduced that hum. I'm going to undo that actually, because there's another way we can remove that. If we go to some of our selection tools down here in the middle bottom of RX4, we have some really powerful selection tools. We have this horizontal selection tool that we can actually use to just select that small little horizontal line. And then we can open up our spectral repair module. And what this is going to do is it's going to take a look at our selected audio, and it's going to average it with the surrounding audio. So it won't completely get rid of this horizontal line. It's going to blend it in with the surrounding frequencies, so it'll even things out. I'm going to decrease my strength just slightly, maybe 2.2, and then I'm going to hit process. And we can see that the hum is removed. Now we can get our selection a little bit more refined, and we can tweak some of these settings around to get it a little bit more perfected. But for now, that is really good. And if we play this,
What am I? Definitely not a human. At least that's what they'll say, but
we
not.
can hear that all the noise and hum is gone now, and we just have one more issue to deal with. And that issue is the clipping. Obviously, this is crazy loud. I'm guessing it was recorded crazy loud, and probably with no hardware compression or anything. And so as you can see, it's hitting the 0 decibel all over the place, and that causes it to clip and distort, and it sounds horrible. Now, not all clipped audio is going to be hitting 0 decibels, and that could be either because they turned it down before they sent it to you, thinking that if they turn it down afterwards, that fixes the problem, which, spoil alert, it does not. Or they could have had their hardware compressor compressing it more like a brick wall limiter, or their microphone could have limited it, or all sorts of things could have happened. But the point is that it will always kind of look like someone took like a chainsaw and cut it off. So we're going to select the audio, bring up our declip module here on the right. Now, if you have some like really crazy clipped audio where it's just absolutely flat for like most of the audio, you'll usually get some big peaks. We can kind of see a little bit of a peak here on the bottom, and you kind of want to adjust these handles to meet your peaks. But we can also just hit suggest, and that does a really good job of putting these where it should be. In this case, it's pretty much all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. And then we have our makeup gain. We have our quality, which I always set quality to high. And this makeup gain is because the way this thing is going to work is it's going to add extra points beyond the spots where it was clipped. And since it's at 0 decibels right now, it doesn't have any room to do that. So it's going to have to turn the volume down in order for this to actually do anything. And so that's where the makeup gain comes into play. I'm going to leave it at -12 and hit process. And we can see that our audio is now declipped, so much more dynamics. And let's go ahead and play that.
What am I? Definitely not a human. At least that's what they'll say when the autopsy is done with. Now I'm hanging from the roof with an empty bottle of Jack and a loosey tie.
Okay, so a lot better. Once we drop this into our DAW, we would probably want to do some compression on top of this because now it's a little bit too dynamic. But it definitely sounds a lot better now that it's not being clipped. Okay, so on to my next example. Let me play a little bit of this for you.
More of him, the force of pen, along with endorphin sense, the bong just to scorch a bit, a quarter zip to this Nordic kid, sorta just.
Okay, so as you can hear, there's just a crap ton of reverb. These vocals are just way too wet. And so the guy actually sent this to me this way and didn't send me the dry version. So this is all I had to work with. So we're going to open up our D-Reverb module over here on the right. And we're going to select our audio and hit Learn. And it will analyze and put together a reverb profile. It will calculate the length of the reverb and also how the reverb is EQ'd. Let me go ahead and preview this now with...
They want more of him, the force of pen, along with endorphin sense, the bong just to scorch a bit, a quarter zip to this Nordic kid.
Okay, so you can hear that the reverb is dramatically turned down, but there's some artifacts, so I'm going to kind of tweak these around a little bit, see if we can control those artifacts a little bit better.
They want more of him, the force of pen, along with endorphin sense, the bong just to scorch a bit, a quarter zip to this Nordic kid, sorta just morphs a bit into a roaring when it's pouring in. I missed more than him in this corridor of boring, and I'm interested in my introspection. The experience has been a lesson. They want more of him, the force of pen, along with endorphin sense, the bong just to scorch a bit, a quarter zip to this Nordic kid, sorta just morphs a bit into a roaring when it's pouring in. I missed more than him in this corridor of boring, and I'm interested in my interest.
Okay, so let's go ahead and A-B that.
They want more of him, the force of pen, along with endorphin sense, the bong just to scorch a bit, a quarter zip to this Nordic kid, sorta just morphs a bit into a roaring when it's pouring in. I missed more than him in this corridor of boring, and
okay, so as you can hear, it goes a long ways for reducing the reverb. You could even tweak this around a little bit more, see if you can perfect it. But it's really hard to use the D-Reverb module without at least a little bit of artifacts. So if you do use it, you probably want to use it a little bit more subtly, maybe not the full 20 dB reduction. Hopefully, I mean, you don't have to use it at all, but if you really absolutely need to lessen the amount of reverb on something, it's your best option to do that with. Okay, so for this last example, I actually recorded this myself because I couldn't find a good example of what I needed, but in this I'm going to show you how to deal with saliva heavy vocals. So let's go ahead and listen to this. This is an example of some really saliva-y vocals, and we are going to take the saliva out. So hopefully, yeah. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so a little silly there, but hopefully you guys get the idea. Now, these aren't the worst vocals ever for being heavy in saliva. I've got a lot worse from clients where it's just kind of overwhelming. The recording isn't too bad, but it's more of a performance issue, maybe a mic placement issue. And sometimes the microphone just picks up the saliva in the artist's throat or mouth. And not only does it sound kind of weird and nasty, but also when you go to mix the vocals with the beat, you get these extra transients that are off rhythm and off beat. And a lot of times you might search like forever trying to find where these transients are coming from before you realize it's actually in the voice and it's from the saliva. And so even though this is not the worst example, there are a few points where it is kind of bad. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Example of some really, so here in really we have a couple clicks there. Some really, you can see these vertical lines right here and here. Those are from the saliva. Of some really, okay, and also over here, the saliva out. On out, right here, we have a little saliva click there. Let's listen again. The saliva out. So, okay, hopefully you guys can hear that. And over here, we had another one. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so right here, we have another saliva click. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open our declick module here on the right. And we're going to select the decrackle tab. Now the declick, the decrackle, and interpolate tabs, these are all really good for cleaning up vinyl, and that's usually what they're used for. But I found that the decrackle tab is really good at removing saliva from vocals. So we don't really have a whole lot of settings to mess with here. Like I've said, I always set my quality to the highest. I usually leave this amplitude skew alone. And then the main control you're going to mess with is the strength. We want it to be strong enough to take out the saliva, and we want it to be weak enough so that it's not taking out too much of the rest of the voice. And we can select this crackle only box. If we check that and we preview, we will hear just the saliva that it will be taking out. So let's do that. Okay, so as you could hear, that was mostly just saliva. It got a little bit of the voice, but just barely. So I think I'm going to keep the strength here at 8. I'm going to uncheck this box now. And this box here is something you'll find on basically all the modules where you can listen to just the thing you want to isolate or take out. And it's really useful in making sure that you don't overdo some of the settings. Anyway, I'm going to process the whole audio clip now, and we will compare the before and after. Okay, so let's go back to that really. Some really, okay, so that's what it sounds like after. Here's before. Some really, and then after. This is an example of some really, you can see that it completely removed those clicks from the saliva. Some really, okay, let's go to this other spot over here. Out. On the out. Out. So that's before. Here's after. Out. So saliva out. So you don't have that weird transient there. And then blah. Here on blah, that sounds a lot better. Here's what it sounded like before. Blah, blah, blah. So that weird saliva transient is now gone. Blah, blah, blah. So sounds a lot better. In cases where the saliva is an even bigger issue, the effect will be even more dramatic. So that's pretty much it for the tutorial. If you guys have any questions at all, you can let me know. If you guys are new and this is your first kit, I would suggest going back and getting some of the previous kits. Last month I had a tutorial on creating your own custom kicks. Superstarro had an in-depth look at the mix on one of his beats. And then we had Kim Candelora, who had a tutorial on creating beats with samples. But But yeah, hit up Superstaro if you need to get some of the previous kits. And hopefully I'll see you guys next month in next month's kit. Peace.